Hey friends, it's Corey from Hey Let's Make Stuff, back with another sublimation tutorial. In today's video, we are going to be making sublimation jewelry. Now this really is a video for all of you. I personally don't wear a lot of jewelry. When I had my boys, I became very sensitive to metals, and so I actually rarely wear earrings and necklaces and everything we're going to make here today. But I have seen a bunch of very cool jewelry sublimation blanks, and so I thought I would share how to make those in this video today. Let's pop over to that overhead view so we can see what we're gonna make. If you've been around the sublimation world for any length of time, you probably recognize these sort of teardrop earrings. They've been around for a very long time. They come in a bunch of different shapes, but this really is the most popular. So we're gonna start with these. Then there's also these other earrings over here. These are stud earrings, and they have these tiny little sublimatable discs, as well as a glass cabochon that goes on top. Then we're going to be making this necklace. It has a whole bunch of rhinestones, and it actually flips so that you can put two images on it. And then finally, we're going to be making a charm bracelet. So this actually has 3 different images that we're going to make. All of these are really easy to make and are perfect for beginners. So don't let the fact that these are not a normal sublimation blank scare you away. Even if you're a beginner, I think you can do these. Aside from these jewelry blanks that I just showed you, let's talk about what else you're going to need to make these projects. So to start, you're going to need a heat press. And one of the great things about these projects is you don't need a big fancy heat press to make them. I'm using my small Cricut Easy Press, but I've actually made some of these projects with my Easy Press Mini. So even if you just have that very tiny Easy Press, you can make these projects. You can also make them in a big traditional heat press if you'd like, so this really is a project that almost anybody can make. Then there are a few other things that you're going to want to have. You're also going to need your images. So I have used Printmate with my Sawgrass to be able to lay out everything on one single sheet. So I have all of my images that I'm going to use, and I didn't have to print out a separate sheet with each one. I do have some content on using Printmate, so I will go ahead and link that in the description below. You're going to need some alcohol and maybe a microfiber cloth to clean your blanks. You can also use a lint roller. You're going to need a way to attach the transfer to your sublimation blanks. I actually like using an adhesive spray. This particular one is not available anymore, but I'm going to link to a different one in my supply list below. I just found this a lot easier than using tape with all of these tiny little projects. But if you want to use heat-resistant tape, you can use that as well. If you're making the dangle earrings, you're going to need a pair of jewelry pliers. I also recommend something like super glue. A couple of these projects come with these sort of adhesive discs, but I found them extremely difficult to work with, and a little dab of super glue worked so much better. For the small stud earrings, you may want to consider getting a UV resin kit. So the directions just say to glue that glass cabochon just right on top, but I found that that actually made my image look cloudy. UV resin does a much better job, and it's really not expensive to buy a kit. So this is basically the resin itself. It comes in a black bottle so that the light can't ruin it. And then I have a little UV light. These came in a pack. This is something that I bought for another project years ago, and I have just used little bits here and there for projects, and it really is something that you should have on hand if you consider yourself a crafter who does a lot of different types of projects. You're also going to want some butcher paper to protect your press. Now, I don't recommend the actual mat that comes with the Easy Press because it is too squishy. So I have a wool mat here. It is just much stiffer, and it works much better on sublimation projects. These projects are perfect for photos, however, you can make them with any designs that you want. I'm going to be using some of my own photos as well as some designs, so of course I have a free file for you today. You can grab this free geometric sublimation bundle in my craft library. You can find my craft library at heyletsmakestuff.com/library. There you can request the password if you don't already have it and log in. This is file S32, so Sublimation 32, and there are 2 ways to find it in my craft library. The first is to click on the sublimation button and you'll be taken down to the sublimation section where you can find S32. The second way is to use the find function on your computer. That is Control F if you are on a PC, Command F if you are on a Mac. Go ahead and search for S32 and you'll be taken right to the file. From there you're going to see 3 links. The first link is the download. You'll download a zip and inside will be the sublimation files. The second link will be to the blog post for this video if you'd like to read more, and the third link will be for this video. To start, I'm going to cut out my designs because I don't want to make all of them at one time. So I'm just going to cut everything out so I have everything separate. Let's start with these dangle earrings first. There is one more tool that I forgot to say in my list, and that is that you're probably going to want something like a weeding hook. And that is because all of these different blanks have that really, clear plastic film on them, and it's really difficult to get off. So in the overhead, you can see here that I'm just using my weeding hook to sort of peel up that film here. It can be a little bit tricky. And it is on all 4 sides here. So we've got 2 sides to each of our blanks. I actually don't think the back side of this one had a plastic coating, which is very strange. So hopefully that'll work. Next, we're going to use the adhesive spray to add a very light coat of adhesive to the earrings so that we can attach them to our transfers. To keep my hands cleaner, I like using a paper towel instead of holding them. Shake it up a little bit, and then we can just add the lightest spray right on top, just like that. Now I have 2 images here and I reversed them. So I want to grab one from each side, just like this. So it's the same image, it's just reversed, so we have a matching pair of earrings. Then I'm going to place my earring blanks right on top. You can try and get them wherever you'd like here. I'd put them in the same place if I were you. Just like that. Then I'm going to flip both of them over. I'm going to put them pretty close together because I can press them in one go. Then I'm going to add my piece of butcher paper on top. This protects your press from getting any ink on it. For this project, I'm going to be pressing this at 360 degrees for 45 seconds. I am applying some pressure while pressing with my Easy Press. You just need that little bit of pressure for the sublimation to work properly. All right. Remember that your image will be hot here, so we're going to pull these off. I'm going to let these cool for just a minute, and then I'm going to peel back that transfer. All right, we can peel this back here, just like that, and it worked, oops, beautifully. Peel this one back, just like that. Now we're going to do exactly the same on the other side. So I'm going to flip them over and give them a very light spritz of this adhesive, just like that. I get my 2 images here. Flip them over, put them at the bottom here. Just like that. Again, I'm going to flip these over just like this and put them near each other. I'm going to add my second sheet of butcher paper and I'm going to press for 45 seconds. All right, and we'll peel these back and they look great. Now we can add our jewelry findings and finish up these earrings. So these particular jewelry findings are a little bit different than anything I've worked before. It has this sort of clamp that goes at the top and then you can just put your fishhook earring in the top. Really easy to use. I just sort of pried this open with my hands enough to be able to clamp it on here. Put it right there. And then you can push to close. I actually really like this system. I think it works nicely. So we're gonna open this one up. Hands are shaking a little bit today. There we go. And we'll put that on there. And then we will clamp it closed. If I can do this with my hands, you can, because you guys all know that I have bad hand strength. So just like that. All right. And then we can add our fishhook earring finding. So for this, I have my jewelry pliers here. I'm just going to open up the bottom loop here, just a hair. I don't really need to open it up much. Just gonna open it up like that. And then at the top of this little piece, there is a loop and you can just put it there and close it right up. And you have your earring. Oh, these are so cute. I love sublimation earrings, especially because you can make them match whatever you are wearing, which is super fun. All right, and there we have our pair of cute dangle earrings. Next up, we have our little stud earrings. I'm just putting this sort of geometric pattern on there, but you could put photos, you could put little tiny cute, images and those sorts of things on there. I feel like these would sell really well at a craft fair. So this is definitely one to keep in mind if you have a small business. These tiny little sublimation pieces do have that plastic on there, so I'm gonna pull it off here with my weeding hook. Just like that. And again, I'm going to use the spray adhesive, so I'm just going to put these on my paper towel, give them a little spray adhesive, just like that. And then I can put these just right on my image here. Again, with the white sublimation side facing down, that metal side facing up. Now we need our butcher paper underneath, so I'm going to grab the one we used before. I'm going to lay this down. You can flip this over, but honestly, these are so thin that it doesn't really matter, so I'm just going to leave them face up. I'm going to add my other piece of butcher paper. I am going to move these things out of the way so I don't heat press them, just like that. And then for this project and for all the projects going forward, we're going to be using 375 degrees for 60 seconds. Remove our butcher paper. And again, these are gonna be hot. I'm just gonna kind of get them off the paper there. The first step here is going to be to glue the pieces we just made onto the stud back. So like I said, there are these sort of little adhesive dots that they give you. They're double-sided. I just found them really difficult to work with, and so that's why I really prefer the super glue. So I'm just gonna add a little bit of super glue to the base here. The super glue bottle's getting empty, but I do still have some in here, so I just added a little bit of super glue, and then I'm just gonna drop that right in there, just like that. Let's do the same thing with the other one. Right in there, just like that. I mean, so easy. And now we get to use that UV resin to add this piece on top. You can try some sort of craft glue if you'd like. I did not have very good luck with it. I really had a cloudy image, and so I think the UV resin really is the way to go. I know that it requires buying a few extra supplies, but if you are gonna make these, I think it's definitely worth it. I'm gonna open up my UV resin here, and I just want a small dot. This is actually sort of a big hole for the resin, so a lot may come out. You just wanna get like the smallest little bit here. Just like that, and then you can take your glass piece and set it in, just like this. And then I'm going to do the same with the other one. And set that glass piece in there. Like that. Now, UV resin needs to cure under a UV light. So I have this little tiny light here. I have it plugged into my computer over here. I'm gonna set this on top of my earrings, and it has an automatic timer. So I'm gonna give it 2 or 3 goes of the timer. I think it's maybe 20 seconds. And that will make sure to cure that resin. It will harden, and you will be able to see the image in your earrings really clearly. Next up, we have this necklace that I'm wearing. So this is a very blingy necklace. It has rhinestones all the way around the outside, and then it does have this sort of a rotating center, so you can add 2 photos to it. This one's pretty similar to what we did before. I am going to remove that coating from the front of these 2 pieces here. Just like that. I'm going to grab my paper towel and place my 2 pieces of sublimation metal on there. Give them that light spray. Then I'm going to take my image here, and I'm going to place these upside down. I want to make sure that I'm centering them on the image. This is especially important if you have photos. You want to make sure that you don't end up with some weird white space. Just like that. Like that. This one is also 375 degrees for 60 seconds. Pull these off my image here, just like that. Oh, they're so cute. These are my boys. Adorable. Now, like with these stud earrings, these also came with those adhesive discs that I don't like, so we are just gonna go with the super glue again. So I'm gonna grab this. I'm just gonna add some super glue here on my base. You don't want to add so much that it will seep up, but so you want to make sure that you have your image straight up and down, and then you can flip it over. You can do the same on the other side. Just like that. Grab that image, still very hot. Just like that. Press them in there pretty good, but they stick really well. Then all you have to do is add your chain, and your necklace is done. Those of you who like rhinestones are just going to love this one because it is really, really fun with that little spinning piece in the middle. Oh, I think it's really cute. We are on to our final project. This one is so easy because it doesn't even involve glue. So again, I'm going to remove all of the plastic film from the front of these 3 charm bracelet pieces. I'm going to grab my paper towel, add our pieces here. I'll shake in a little spritz. And then I can add them to my images here. So I think we'll make this one the heart. And then the other 2 we will make squares. Let's see. Want to make sure you don't have any white around the edges because that will show. All right, there we go. And like with the other 2, we're going to press it at 375 degrees for 60 seconds. All right, we have our 3 pieces here. That is still really hot. I'm up off that. And they do really sublimate very well. Now this one actually has these sort of adhesive, pieces already attached, which if the other ones had them, I would have used that instead of the glue, but this just works so much better. Let's see if I can get them up. Of course, I didn't have any problem with this in my test, but there we go. All right, I'm gonna add my little dog here. These are so hot, ouch. Add my dog right in there. You'll probably wanna wait for these to cool, but of course I'm not going to. Oh, see, this one, I didn't have this problem before, but I'm actually pulling up the adhesive. So you just wanna pull up the backing, not the adhesive itself. There we go. All right, so for the heart, let's go ahead and add the little heart picture here. Sit right in there. And we'll do this final piece. We can add our final little picture there. Just like that. Ah, so cute. I think it would drive me crazy to wear this around all day. I'm just being honest, but I feel like there are people who wear all sorts of fun dangly jewelry and it doesn't drive them crazy. So if that's you, then this is definitely a really fun project. And those are the 4 projects we are going to make today. You can see them all here in the overhead view. We have this rhinestone necklace with the double-sided picture in the middle. We have our charm bracelet with 3 different photos. We have our little stud earrings with the glass cabochon on top. I really like those. And we have our dangle earrings. I hope you found this video for making sublimation jewelry helpful and inspiring. If you have any questions, please leave those down in the comments and I'd be happy to answer them. Follow my channel for more sublimation, cricut, and laser content. I'll see you next time.